Hello friends, I'm Dr. Kaustub and today we'll be discussing the topic should lateral entries be allowed in civil services. This topic of lateral entries into civil services has been much discussed topic right since the first Administrative Reforms Commission report. However, presently the controversy has been heated up because of the decision of the government to open up 10 positions of joint secretary level for lateral entrants. Without wasting any further time, let us discuss what this issue is all about. Let me first introduce you to the topic lateral entry in civil services. The introduction, the recent proposal from the government is for lateral entry in 10 posts at joint secretary level. Now, when we speak about good governance, it means getting the bureaucracy right because that is the crucial link between the politicians and the people, right? Minimum government and maximum governance has been the motto of this government. So, what steps the government is bringing in, it can be seen in the light of bringing good governance as well as maximizing governance and minimizing the role of government. Now, what is the proposal all about? The nitty gritty of this proposal. There are only 10 posts which are open first, but I consider this is more sort of a pilot project. The posts are open for 3-year contract, which can be extended up to 5 years based on the performance. Graduates with a minimum 15 years work experience in their own area in the private sector or even in certain union territories or PSUs are also called for. Minimum age criteria is 40 years. Competitive salaries and perks are being offered with equivalent positions of government. So this is the proposal from the side of the government. Next, before moving ahead, let us understand which post has been opened. It is joint secretary level. So what is this level? What is the significance of this post? Joint secretary is the head of the wing under the charge of secretary of the ministry or department, and he or she reports to additional secretary or the secretary. Joint Secretary leads policy making and implementation of various programs and schemes of the department. So this is a very crucial position which can be considered as where the policies are being framed and policies are being implemented. Next, what about the steel frame? What is the present condition of this steel frame? It is widely believed that job security, the permanent nature of this position, and it's a career-based progression. So this job security may somehow tend to reduce motivation to actually perform in the field. Second, the seniority principle is being followed in promotions. So this seniority principles induces complacency. So without effort, without actually competing, there is a career-based progression. So this seniority principle may induce complacency. Third is the lack of accountability. Now, there was a research done by Hong Kong-based political and economic risk consultancy, right? And they've ranked bureaucracies throughout the world, right? Across Asia, sorry. They've ranked the bureaucracies across Asia. And what they found is they said that Indian bureaucrats are very powerful because they are seldom held accountable. So they're very powerful, but it is worse for the country. So they called Indian bureaucracy worst because there is very less accountability in the system. Whenever anything goes wrong, it's very, very difficult to pinpoint uh, the accountability cannot be pinpointed, and bureaucrats are seldom punished. Even if there is punishment, it's simply in terms of a fringe posting or a transfer, right? So this is lack of accountability in the present system. Then frequent transfers and short tenures. This is also problematic because once you reduce autonomy in terms of the decision making, you frequently transfer people, give them very short tenure to the officers, you cannot demand accountability from them because the first thing that they demand is you give us time, sufficient time to perform, freedom to perform, take decisions, and then accountability can be demanded. So accountability and autonomy, they go hand in hand. No correlation between postings and their area of specialization. Now, this is something that has been observed repeatedly, that in India, the positions that are taken up by IAS officers many a times in higher level authority, they do not match their own background or domain expertise. So, no correlation between postings and their area of specialization, and lack of domain expertise. So, IAS officers by definition are generalist people, and these generalist manning positions where the problems are very complex, right, in nature and specialized in nature. You can see what the Shimla example, the water problem, the problem regarding urban areas. So the problems in urban areas are extremely complex today. The urbanization in India is progressing at a rapid pace which requires specialized solutions. But then we see that the bureaucrats who are generally generalists in nature, they are given all the decision making power in urban areas where the problems remain unsolved for decades, right? Next, we move to the next point. Why lateral entry? What is the how is this case strengthened? First, today in 21st century, you need quick decision making. Right? It is believed that India in 21st century has become a very complex society. We are trying to solve the problems of 21st century by using bureaucracy which is of 20th century, and we use laws. This bureaucracy functions as per the laws which are framed in 19th century. So you solve 21st century problems with 20th century bureaucracy using laws of 19th century. Now this is something very problematic, and that is why we see the governance in India is not up to the mark. So quick decision making is the need of the day. Complex problems that need domain expertise, I've already explained this. Then vast policy planning and managerial talent is available today. So because of the development of the private sector, see, Indian bureaucracy, it's a hangover of colonial impact, right? The colonial hangover is clearly visible, and this bureaucracy basically during independence or after that was framed to keep the country united. Plus there was the angle of centralization. So this is all India services. Today the society, economy, polity has undergone sea change. So today the basic reason why the bureaucracy should function is about facilitatory role. So they are not just controlling elements, they are rather facilitators. They are supposed to give seed space to the private sector which actually does the job. So here the policy planning and managerial talent, that because of the development of the private sector, especially after 1991 reforms, we have a lot of policy planning and managerial talent available in our country, which can take care of the complex problems even which government faces. Aadhaar being a case in point. So implementation of various government schemes has been made very good because of the talent that was brought in by Nandan Nilekani, right? So conservation of precious national human resource. I'll come to this point again later, but then I would like to say that wherever there are problems, and the responsibility gravitates to the person who has the shoulders to handle that. So we conserve precious national human resource. So this is job fit kind of concept. And we also come to the UPSC examination system, but in the later part of the discussion. So conservation of precious national human resource can be promoted by use of lateral entries. Next, effectiveness of civil service. In today's context, how do we define the effectiveness of civil services in a country? This is a research paper. It is public institutions in India, Krishnan and Somanathan. They have defined it from an institutional economics perspective. So they have defined effectiveness of civil service from institutional economics perspective. What they say is, they define it as its contribution to the reduction of transaction costs for economic entities. So contribution of civil service to the reduction of transaction cost for the economic entities. Now you will relate this concept to what the government is trying to do, the ease of doing business. So the entire focus of the government is on economy, and that economic lubrication has to be done because of this civil service. So civil service should function in a manner that facilitates other players in the economy to do their job, and the civil service should minimize the transaction cost. As opposed to this, presently in Indian bureaucracy, you see many countries have been complaining about this, especially Japan, that the red tape in India, corruption, and the inability of the bureaucrats to take decisions quickly, right? Risk averse nature is constraining our economic capability. Next, what do the reports say? So ARC1, Administrative Reforms Commission 1, it supported specialization, or it said that specialization is needed in the services. So it recognized the need for specialization. ARC2, it supported the institutionalized and transparent process at center and state level. So even ARC, both the reports, Administrative Reforms Commissions, they supported lateral entries. However, ARC1 supported it by saying that specialization is needed. ARC2 warned that there needs to be a formal, institutionalized and a transparent system, not only at the central level but also at the state level, if you really want to go ahead with lateral entries. Next, what are the examples till now? So presently, and the entire opposition is united and saying that the government is changing the nature of civil services. Point is, this is the government which is rather trying to put down a formal system for promoting lateral entries. However, it is not the case that earlier lateral entries were not taking place. As early as 1970, Yoginder Alag, who was just a teacher, he was brought in to head Perspective Planning Division of Planning Commission. So this is the example of lateral entry. But the earlier governments did it silently at their own whims and fancies. This government is at least trying to put up a formal mechanism transparently for lateral entries. Now, Sam Pitroda, Rajiv Gandhi brought Sam Pitroda from US. He brought in the telecom revolution. Manmohan Singh, He was also a lateral entrant. 1991 reforms were ushered in by Manmohan Singh. Nandan Nilekani very recently was brought in for implementation of the unique ID authority of India, that Aadhaar, right? And we have seen that what Aadhaar has done. I mean, there are controversies on both sides, but however, implementation of social schemes has been speeded up, right? And corruption has been reduced up to much extent because of use of Aadhaar. So Nandan Nilekani is a bright example how lateral entries can add value to the government. Next, the other side. Does that mean that the people who are career bureaucrats do not bring in reforms or do not bring in revolutionary actions or revolutionary steps in the government? There are examples like Hasmukh Adhia, who implemented GST, who was the brain behind GST. Then Aruna Sundararajan, Digital India campaign. The James Bond of India, right? National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. S. Jaishankar, the former foreign secretary of the India, who implemented the foreign policy of India for this government, which is very proactive and engaging foreign policy. So these are some bright spots in the career bureaucrats also who have done revolutionary work in their civil services. Next, what are the advantages of bringing in for lateral entrants into the government? See, these are domain experts with a proven track record of competence. So, for example, when there is financial issue or financial problem, we have brought in Raghuram Rajan at RBI. Even Deepak Parekh, many a times comes in handy, right, for the government to solve economic problems or financial issues. So, domain experts, they have a proven track record of competence, so they can be picked up on the basis of this track record. Fresh perspective and new ideas. So these are not bogged down by the red tape. These are not bogged down by the chalta hai attitude. So these are the people who compete in the private sector. So they can bring in fresh perspective, new ideas to the government. These people would be less risk averse. Bureaucracy, career-based bureaucrats are generally mindful about political sensitivities, and it may happen that they have their own career progression in mind that may result or into less risk taking by these people. But then these lateral entrants come for on a contract basis. So these people may be less bogged down by the political pressure, and they will be able to stand up to their political bosses. So less risk averse. They'll try new things. May help reverse the brain drain. So given an opportunity to work at powerful positions in government, the people who have gone out, for example, Raghuram Rajan came in, even in Niti Aayog, we have brought in many people from which are from private sector and other social sector. So they may help reverse the brain drain that our country faces. They may be better at harnessing technology. So in private sector, the latest technology is an advantage. So these are the people who use this technology for their operations. In government, on the other hand, obsolete processes and technologies are used at many places, right? So here, use of technology can be speeded up by bringing in lateral entrants. However, there is another side to the story also. How has this been criticized? What are the major criticism against lateral entries? It is said that it may undermine the policy of reservations. Yes, government needs to be very mindful about, and transparent, clear about how does the policy of reservation get implemented if lateral entry is being, whether it will be implemented or not, and if yes, how? So, policy of reservations. Next, bypasses the UPSC examination system. We'll come to this point again later, but then this is true that the present career diplomats, or sorry, the present career bureaucrats, they come through the UPSC system. Now here, UPSC is by constitution has been tasked with giving a selected pool of candidates for recruitment to the government. Here, by opening up lateral entries, UPSC system is being bypassed. There's no doubt about it. Political appointments, nepotism and corruption. Now this is a real threat. If there is no transparent, formal, institutionalized system, it may result into lateral entry being a backdoor entry to people who are political appointees. There may be nepotism, there may be corruption. So even ideological entrants or people who belong to a particular ideology may be brought in. So this is a real threat. Next is lack of field level experience. Many a times we see that the lateral entrants come from fields of academy or fields from private sector who have never seen a village, who have never, in terms of working in a village, or who have never seen the grassroots condition of various programs or schemes that the government actually implements. So lack of this field level experience, because this is the biggest strength of career bureaucrats. They start their careers at grassroots in tribal areas and in backward areas of the country, and then they slowly rise up the chain so that they bring that perspective to the policy planning level. the complex socio-political milieu in our country is reflected in the bureaucrats' way of functioning, but that may be absent because of lack of field level experience in lateral entrance, especially from the private sector. Now, issue of conflict of interest. This is also a real threat. Bureaucrats, somehow, because they belong to this system, they have the social angle. Plus, they have a sense of fairness regarding various groups, communities, various regions of the country. When private sector people come in, this may be a revolving door policy. Somehow they come to the government just to burnish their own or furnish their own CV, or they can come in with private interest in their mind. So this narrow interests of private sector, it will be difficult to take care of this conflict of interest. So there may be conflict of interest because they don't have a long term association with the government, right? Next, there are some more criticisms. Officers presently act as a bridge between policy making and implementation. So the people who come or parachute to these positions from outside may not act as a bridge. Difficult to ascertain the motive of service orientation. So this is very difficult to actually judge that what is the real motive of their coming to the government. May lead to friction with bureaucracy. Obviously, the present career bureaucrats see this lateral entrance as people who have not given one of the most toughest or most difficult examinations and not competed, not worked at the grassroots, and so there will be a lot of resistance from the bureaucrats to this lateral entrance. The fatal trinity. Now, when you do this, what it may lead to is, if this step is implemented, even if formal institutionalized system is implemented, there will be a fatal trinity. So there will be low salaries. There are presently low salaries for the bureaucrats. Pensions are non-existent, and then uncertain career progression because of opening of lateral entries. This trinity may weed away talent from UPSC examinations. So the talent may not be attracted to UPSC examinations in the first place. Next, what may be the way forward, right? What can be the way out of this, this issue? First, administrative reforms. You need to recast the steel frame of India, right? It has become obsolete. You need to recast the civil services. So administrative reform should be implemented. Third party appraisal to weed out underperformance. This is very important. That this is called as type 1 and type 2 error in UPSC examinations. This is what I was speaking about when I spoke about resource conservation, human resources. What is type 1 error in UPSC examinations? There are many good people who deserve to be selected, but they stay out of the process just because they could not qualify that exam at that level, right? This is type 1 error. And type 2 error is the people who qualify, some of them may not make it a cut when it comes to the field work. So they do not give or perform as per expectation in the field. So these people, underperformance can be weeded out if this neutral third party appraisal is carried out, and essentially underperformance are weeded out. So lateral entrants may fill this space, right, because of their proven track record in the field, right? IS monopoly needs to be done away with. No doubt about this. That this is one of the most powerful associations in the country which have kept all the important positions in their hand. So these positions need to be opened up not only for private sector or competitors, but for other services also. So this is also one important issue that was very hotly discussed in the last couple of years. So IS monopoly needs to be broken and done away with. Catalyze UPSC entrants to specialize. So whatever bureaucrats are taken up or officers are chosen by the process of UPSC, they should be encouraged to specialize. Today, what we see is domain expertise is taken up, but it comes at a very late stage in their career progression. This, if you encourage from the beginning, then this UPSC entrants can be encouraged to specialize, so that through this career bureaucrats only, you will get the specialist or domain expertise that we are looking for in the outside people. Allow the deputation of officers to the private sector. Now, there are certain good examples that the officers have left government service, gone to private sector, and now as lateral entrants, they have entered government and added value, right? So what we can allow is, we can allow the way we are looking for lateral entrants into government service from private sector. We should allow the deputation of officers to the private sector so that they become more conversant with the outside world view and then bring that fresh perspective when they come back to the service. After this, some other steps can be taken. For example, institutionalize and transparent process of selection so that the opposition to lateral entry. See, one thing is very, very clear. The time has come. Lateral entry is the need of the hour. However, the opposition is bound to be there. So One way of reducing this opposition would be institutionalized and transparent formal process of selection. Fusion, synthesis, and multi-sectoral approach. We have said that when lateral entrants come into the government, they may face a lot of problem or resistance from other departments or career bureaucrats. Second, they may not be very good at, or they may face problems at managing the multiple checks and controls in the government. Coordination between various departments is very difficult many a times in the government sector. Also, these bureaucrats are supposed to coordinate at center and state level. So these all this fusion. So what we need is, we need a fusion, a synthesis approach, a multi-sectoral approach where the government functions. This is a structural reform that I'm speaking about. Any project that is to be implemented, we should have platforms where multiple departments can come together, exchange their views, and then the project can be implemented after taking all the views into consideration. So if you bring a formal system which is multi-sectoral approach, it will help lateral entries to do their job more efficiently. Next, position-based senior executive service is better than career-based senior executive service. What it means is, today we have career-based senior executive service. So these are career bureaucrats who get promoted, right, in because of seniority, and then they get to the senior positions. This has its own drawbacks. What we need is position-based senior executive service, so that the senior positions like joint secretary and above can be opened up for all, right? Any entrant can compete. Any person who thinks he's worthy of that position should compete, and this position-based senior executive service would bring best talent to the position. Reduction in permissible age limit in UPSC exam. Now I know this is going to be a very controversial point. However, the proposal for lateral entry has to be seen as a larger picture. If I'm not wrong, in the next 5 to 10 years, what we may see is the age limit of the UPSC may be reduced, the seats of UPSC may be reduced substantially, and there may be a formal system for lateral entry again, say after 35-40, right, of age. So there is a two-pronged process. You pick up UPSC anyway has got reports that, I mean, there are reports that it is said that the people who are beyond 30 in their age, they do qualify the exam. However, they are very resistant to the training that is given in the academies and picking up of new technologies. So the government is looking to catch them young. When you say youth should be promoted or at young people should be recruited, this is what the government may do in the coming years, that the permissible age limit in UPSC exam may be reduced and a formal system of lateral entry may be instituted, so that people may not be obsessed about the UPSC examination so much that they waste national precious human resource for 4 to 5 years appearing for just one examination. And then if you consider the ratio of those who appear and those who get selected, you will appreciate that it's a colossal waste of national talent, right? So that so many good talented people waste 4 to 5 years, 6 years of their life in the process of appearing just UPSC examination, right? So by having this two-pronged approach, that one examination at a very young age and then a system of lateral entry after 35 to 40, so it allows people to first, those who may not be able to spare so much time, so they can go into private sector, do their own job, earn and actually earn skills, and then come back to the government at a later stage. So this is the long-term plan, I believe, may help address the type 1 and type 2 errors in UPSC Civil Services Examination. I've already explained this, right? And from RAMACHANDRA GUHA, right, the historian, he has said that in no other modern society does a person who got a high rank in an examination 35 years ago automatically goes on and be allotted a high status, high impact and vastly important government job based only or largely on that examination rank. Now this is a fact, right? So this is all from my side about lateral entry. I thank you for patiently listening to this presentation. Happy studying. Have a very nice day. My best wishes are always with you. Thank you.